Hello, Mechwarriors, and welcome to the Mechbay, where we fix your mech and fix your game. What's going on, Mechwarriors? I'm your host, Josh. I've got my co-host, Lore Master Denim.
Howdy, howdy.
And Star Captain Falcon, Steve.
Hello.
And we are already terrible.
And we are try again.
There we go. No. It's already the lamb has already crashed into the field. We just have to spray paint it green and treat it as grass now. But we are the Mechbay podcast, your number one source for all things casual to competitive tabletop BattleTech. And today we are talking about the damn lambs.
Watch your language, bucko.
Whoa. I'm pretty sure I'm not the first person to curse those, I don't even know what pejorative I would call lamb besides a lamb.
They're an abomination, Josh. You can just call them that.
Yeah. But before we talk about lambs, we've got some hobby news, hobby progress, games played, fan mail, events. We got the whole spiel. So let's roll into that first. News, the thing everyone keeps talking about. Kickstarter. When's it coming? Soon? Never? Sometime in between.
By the time people hear this, we could be getting shipping notifications.
That's the hope. Because last time we recorded, and then they sent out the email with the picture of the warehouse. And I'll be honest, that warehouse looked like the same one that the Ark of the Covenant is stored in Indiana Jones.
What you're telling me is that they've only got a couple boxes, but they strategically placed a bunch of mirrors around to make it look like they're ready. So they're just hyping us up.
Who is controlling the warehouse of mechs that are going to be released? Top men.
Yeah, so we're all just waiting. It's any day now. My money is on we get them right at the end of June. Right at the end. Like last day.
So shipping, you think, within maybe a week of recording this to allow 2 weeks for shipments?
Yep. I think it's going to ship on my birthday.
That would be a nice birthday gift.
It would.
That'd be a really nice birthday gift.
It's better than the, Jelly of the Month Club?
Right?
Yeah. It is funny. I keep seeing, I hear it everywhere, right? People go, I got an email from FedEx. Is it the Kickstarter? Did anyone else get these? Everyone's jumping at the bit to find out when they're shipping. We're all anxious, but
we are.
Have to have a little patience.
Dropship wasn't delivered in a day. So yeah, we're all still waiting, but that's fine. Waiting is
Jelly of the Month Club. A friend of mine had a dead animal skull club where she would get like a raven skull one month, and then a squirrel skull, and then a rat skull. Like it would be these different small animal skulls that she'd get every month. It was that
is morbidly fascinating. No, for real.
I thought it was amazing. It came in really cool little display cases.
It's got to have been really expensive.
I don't know.
Having those skulls cleaned is not cheap.
I just imagine someone fighting like the New York subway, just like, I've got another one. This is a big rat. We can pass this off as a possum.
Gonna make someone real happy.
What's next? New Master Unit list, apparently also soon-ish, right?
I'm not sure I believe it.
Yeah.
Soon is so relative.
So relative. But this came about in the CGL Discord where they were asking, and they mentioned it's coming soon, and with, like Joshua Franklin said, integration with classics, so record sheets. So
that would be really nice. That would be really, really nice, rather than having to go elsewhere to find record sheets all the time.
Well, for me, it's always Megamech, but it would mean that I wouldn't have to go into Megamech quite as often if I'm just making something for a quick tournament or a quick pickup game.
Yeah, well, that's just nice. Not having to boot up a whole other program, being able to go to a website, click a button, and have what you need at your fingertips.
I want it.
Convenience.
I won it last week.
Speaking of master unit list, Joshua Franklin released his beta Alpha Strike beginner / pickup format. So welcome to the format wars, Joshua. But no, this is meant to be a beta for something that would be introduced and integrated into the actual rulebook, because there's currently no recommended game size. It's just there are missions there, and there are like, this is how you build a force, but there's nothing that's like, build a force with these things. These are the limits that you can take. You must assign X, Y, and Z. If you're Comstar, you must take 6 kind of things. Like, there's none of that in the rulebook. There are the formations, but that gets into like formation bonuses, and that's even when we did the BTCC Alpha Strike thing, they were like, we're going to ignore steps 1 through 7. And I was like, if we're ignoring steps 1 through 7,
what are we working with?
What are we working with here?
Right. Yeah. No. And what's interesting about this beta format that we're calling it, right? I don't dislike a lot of what I'm seeing. I think it's a great place for new beginners to show up and have something to play with, right? It's easily, it's a beta, so it needs a little bit of work, right? Obviously, anything that's still being produced will need to be edited and revised. But I know there is an email that if you look at this and you see something that needs to be changed, you can email Joshua suggestions or anything else you want to see changed. But I think this is I think it fills a void. I think it's a necessary thing for people that don't necessarily have an established play group or an established game store that they go to. I know with what we have at our store, we kind of have a way that we play. Everyone's going to have a way that they do things in their store. But if you don't, or you're maybe starting your own group or finding your own friends and you need somewhere to start, this I think is a fine place to kind of plant your feet and at least figure out what you like and what you don't like. So,
and the fact that this will be integrated into the rule book will help give it some gravitas when it's like, hey, we'll just play what's literally out of the rule book, because isn't that what you want from a game?
No, back in my day, BattleTech didn't hold anybody's hand and tell them how to play the game. They just gave you mechs and numbers, and you just had to figure everything out all by yourself. And we liked it. So
it's 2024, man. I don't like anything that isn't
we don't have
holding my hand
time
a little bit.
We just don't have time anymore.
I just don't have time.
That's it. But no, I mean, I think one of the things I saw parroted in a lot of different areas was the fact that it had been called a standard format. People had concerns about, squeezing out other play styles or other things. And I don't think this is designed to do that. I think this is just supposed to give you square one, right? Yeah. You can always play however you want to play. And this isn't necessarily a tournament format or anything like that. This is just
for real. I think it's a great idea, but because growing up, we did not have anything like that when I started playing. So it would be helpful.
Yeah. And I'd like to see what changes get implemented as well, right? I mean, Josh was really responsive to the community. He takes the feedback that he receives very seriously. And, he's made changes based on what he's seen in the community before. So just a reminder, if you're going to send in feedback, be respectful about it. I mean, we know that Kestrel's in our Discord and he's looking at things, so don't beat the guy up.
Oh, feedback also doesn't just mean tell us what went wrong. It also means if something's working really well, you have to let the people know that too, so they know they're on, like what track to stay on and what track to change things on. So, let them know the positives as well as the negatives. It helps.
Absolutely.
I hear Josh thinking positives. How do you tell somebody something positive? I don't understand.
I will say these objectives and these deployments, 12 out of 10. Love them. Can't wait to play with them. The fact that this could be integrated in the rulebook, I was like, oh boy, I roll a d6 for an objective and you could roll a d6 for an objective. And we both play independent objectives, or we play the same objective. The fact that there's that, super cool. I like that. It's different, but there's also pre-made deployment zones. Like you've got they're in the center and everyone else is on the edges and you got to break out. You got your standard on the sides fighting. You got the wedge. Like, it's great. A lot of time and energy has been put into what is there. This is not just made on a day kind of thing. It's like, no, a lot of hard work is going into this to go into a rule book.
Yeah. I mean, it's great, and one of my, I'll share some of my concerns, right? When I believe, what do they call it? The small game. It's like a skirmish, I think is what they called it. Is the 250 PV
So there's two PV levels. There's 250 and there's 500 for the starting. Essentially.
Right. The concern was with list building, you needed to take, a group of however many. If you're playing with Inner Sphere mechs, you need to bring a lance. If you're playing with clans, you need to bring 5. If you're playing with Comstar, you need to bring 6. But if you're limited at 250 PV, that kind of shoehorns you into kind of a smaller bracket, right? And you're not gonna, if you want to expand out and play with more, either vehicles or battle armor, if you're clanners or something like that, getting 5 mechs and having the supplemental kind of deployments. I forget what they called them. I forget the language that got used. But
bringing this in without knowing all the words.
Yeah, I know. I read it a little while ago.
Wow.
But, no, my first concern in that is that I may not have enough leeway, but then you just have to bump it up to the 500 point value mark and you play from there. So
right, but that's not just an Alpha Strike problem. I mean, playing a 5K game in Classic, you're never going to get the clan mechs you want and fill out a star. It is nice that battle armor officially count as a point of that star, so you can have 3 mechs and 2 points of elementals and still have a star of clan forces. And you have to do that, or you're never going to get out of the medium class. You're just going to have some lights and medium clan mechs and some battle armor, and that's all you can take for lower point values. They really are just that good and that expensive. So that's a BattleTech problem, not an Alpha Strike or Classic issue.
Yeah, the 250 to me instantly screamed entry level. You build 1 medium grade whatever, and that's all you get. You don't get your extras to play with. You're either taking 4 things you don't want, 5 things you don't want, or 6 things you don't want.
So but y'all on a budget. That's what you should do.
It's why the majority of games are higher than that. So, no, I liked it. I'm happy to play that at my local game store. I'll be trying it out so I can send some feedback. So, pretty sure you can find NC Kestrel's beta Alpha Strike beginner pickup game format on the forums or the CGL Discord in the Alpha Strike channels. All right, what's next? We've got the Pride Anthology 2024.
It's the second one they've done. They had a anthology for 2023 as well.
Yeah. Got some names we all know and love in there. I do love that the longbow on the cover of this is named Bullshark.
Right.
It's like, okay, that's a cool throwback. I enjoyed that. So I'm going to enjoy reading those. They are technically not canon, but they are, in the spirit of BattleTech with the ability to put the BattleTech's logo on it, essentially.
Yeah.
They are.
I was originally surprised. I thought they were originally canon stories that had been collected, right, or put together with, the link to the Pride Anthology, right? But a little fan fictions that they thought were good enough to put together.
Made with the blessing of Catalyst. That's good enough for me. To me, that's what shrapnel is. So if anyone, which most of us do, we subscribe to the plastics manufacturer overseas for Catalyst miniatures. And if you've been watching the Alaya International promotional videos, they were playing with some pre-painted mechs, a whole bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then
I do remember that.
Yeah, and then apparently on Tuesday Newsday, they announced that this is for the grinder box for retailers only. So you can't buy it, but your gaming store can. And what will that be? Well, I know what a grinder is. I'll let the professional grinder players here describe.
I think Steve's depiction of a grinder is very different than the normal people's. He says that you just lay down in the middle of a map and you sit there for 4 hours.
I got to the convention at 8 a.m. when they opened, and I didn't get up until 8 when they left.
Yeah, how many hours were you in that one mech?
The Clint, I was in the Clint for 4 hours.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And I ran out of ammo an hour in. So I was running with the medium laser zapping people, and then no one would kill me. I was stuck in that damn mech. I have flashbacks to the grinder table. It's terrible.
It's good times. So the grinder is just a it's a prize oriented format where you get
just the game concept.
Oh, it's a drop in, drop out concept where you.
No, not even that. It's
Okay, never mind. Josh, you tell us what the grinder is because you are the expert here. Tell us what the grinder is, Josh. How many hours have you played grind?
0, which makes me an expert.
I can tell already. So tell us, what is the grinder?
So it's going to be some light mechs, some medium mechs, heavies, and assaults. And essentially, you're going to die your way up the weight class as you fight and kill. And it's really, for retailers, meant to be like something that they can play. And all the miniatures are already roughly, not pre-painted, but pre-colored. So this is for them to run an event. Not like a competitive event, but like hey, here's a bunch of new players. We'll put them in one mech and they'll fight, and they'll die, and they'll get a new mech after that until they reach the top. And then whatever happens at the end.
What does happen, you start Josh?
Yeah. Normally they get a prize. I don't know if there will be prizes included in this because it's just meant for like entry level playing, but hey.
They're a good time, regardless. Grinders
I would say it is one of the, if not the most popular event at most conventions that have official BattleTech support.
Yeah, understandably so. You can kind of drop in, drop out whenever you want. There's no set start time, no set end time, which for some of us is a curse because we feel like we need to be there the whole time to get our money's worth. Yep. I think grinders are great. And the fact that they're going to be putting together a box is great news because now I need to see if I can get a hold of one despite not being a realtor. Retailer.
Realtors.
I don't sell houses.
But if you did, you still couldn't get one of these. No, I'll definitely get my hands on one.
But they're for retailers only. They're not meant to be sold to people.
Right. And what I mean is the store that I go to is going to get one, so I will get my paws all in that.
There you go. This is not for sale to people. You have to have a business. So hands off everyone to take it home. Hands in if you're at a store. That's right. But that's enough for BattleTech news. Let's get some hobby progress going. I'll start. I've got nothing done because it's been rough. It's been a rough week. I still haven't even purchased my Southern Assault tickets from Fortress. And I still haven't decided on if I want to buy a Hussar, a Viking, or a Tessin. And I want to say there's a Grim Reaper. Those are the 4 mechs I keep like put into my cart. And then like, no, I'll never use this.
If you buy them all, you'll have to use them.
I know.
No, he doesn't. And that confuses me as to, when you want to use them and you didn't buy them, then how are you going to use them then?
I don't know.
You just buy them and they're on your shelf for in case you ever want to use them, and then you've got them.
That's true. The problem is the Viking is, the super slow, chunky boy, which has more LRMs or missiles than anyone wants to play with. So I can see that being a problem. A Hussar, it's very hard to justify paying actual American dollars for a Hussar. Even Denham's kind of like, yeah.
It's like you could spend M bills on that. Not even C bills. You spend like house specific M bills.
House specific money on the Hussar. Yeah. But that would complete my all Clan Buster collection.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. So I'm like,
you should just buy them.
I should just buy them.
Just do it, Josh.
Yeah. I still don't know what I'm going to take to our local classic tournament, though. So who knows? Maybe we'll take a Viking or a Hussar. Maybe both. Definitely not both. But that's it for me. Steve, have you got any hobby progress done?
Does spreading super glue all over my hands count? Because I attempted to assemble a crab and a Loki 2. But I think I glued my fingers more than the miniatures. I love crabs. Hate the models. The metal models are atrocious. I will stick with CGL plastics going forward. And I did get a Loki 2 that I mentioned in the last episode of acquiring. I attempted to assemble it, but I'm missing an upper arm assembly part. Right, it just shorted out of my wasn't in my box. So reached out to Iron Winds, and hopefully they'll get me a replacement piece in the near future here. Other hobby progress, I started cataloging all of my mechs. It occurred to me that as the Kickstarter looms, right? I mean, it's coming eventually. I would really like to get a grip on what I actually have in my giant tote of gray plastic. So I've started making a spreadsheet and categorizing and cataloging everything that I've got. So maybe I won't triple buy boxes. I turn around and go, I need a vulture, so I'll buy a box with a vulture in it. Oops, I've got 3 in my box in the back room that I forgot about. So I need to get a handle on that.
Yep. I too said I should do that, and I started a spreadsheet, and I got about 3 lines in, and I just found something else to do.
Oh, I've dumped every single unpainted miniature on my computer desk. I hate it. It's cluttered and it's driving me bananas, which is just going to motivate me to get them off my desk.
Yeah. Well, good luck to you.
I'll show you when I'm done. It's looking pretty good so far. The spreadsheet looks nice.
I can't steal it from you because it's not the same number of mechs I have.
No. But the way I've got it organized is it's each unit, right? Each individual unit, which box it comes from, its categorization, be it mech, battle armor, yada, 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 who the manufacturer is. And all you'd have to do is wipe out the number. And then you can just take the whole framework and then put your own numbers in if you count them up.
Done.
I'll send it over when I get it done.
will do. Yes. Send that to me. Thank you.
The only cataloging I keep is how many wins each of my mechs has at tournaments.
It's a lot of zeros.
Oh.
All right, Dennis, what about you? Any hobby progress?
I assembled the Urban Mech LAM, and I noticed that they had not 1 but 2 different Alpha Strike cards for it, but there are any official classic record sheets. So I made a couple of variants of that for me. So that counts as progress. I did assembling and I did some mech creation, and I'm pretty happy with it. You
essentially reversed and created the classic record sheet from the Urban Mech Alpha Strike card, correct?
No. I took the classic Urban Mech and I converted it to a LAM. And I had to give it like composite structure to fit some of the stuff on there. So it is a fragile beast, but it's fun. So
I don't believe you.
It's an Urban Mech that goes 914.
It's there for a good time, not there for a long time.
Oh, it is there for a very short time. So I have that. I'm looking forward to putting a few of these on the table. Those of you who join us for the monthly campaign, be careful. They're coming.
Well, to get right into games played, I've gotten nothing in because I'm still recovering from Motor City. Like I needed the whole month. Like I hate to say it. I got no BattleTech things done. I got a podcast out, and that was it.
Yeah, I've also played no games because I am attempting to smooth things over with the fam. I spent a lot of time on that tournament getting everything ready, and need to make sure I put Tywin where it needs to go.
Are you behind? Have you not started prepping for next year's tournament? You need to have started that 2 weeks ago, sir. My
friend, I am way behind. I don't even know what missions we're going to run next year.
Well, I hope you can make up the time somewhere, man.
Yeah, look, I don't sleep. It's fine. Yeah. What about you, Denim? Games?
Yeah. Well, I got it. I got some games. I would say the most exciting one I played was with Marcus from our local game store over here. We just played a Lance on Lance 10K list, classic BattleTech, just murder Lance. He took an awesome, one of my favorite Shadowhawks, Phoenix Hawk and a Vindicator, and I had a Panther, Marauder, Thunderbolt, and the Catapult with the MRM 30s. I think the game lasted like 15 turns.
Ooh.
I won initiative on turn 2.
And that was it.
And that was pretty much it.
That's all he needed because he's about to tell us that he won.
Oh, man. Wow. The game, I'd love to say the game was close. It was not close.
You murdered this poor man that quickly? Come on now, Denim.
Oh, right. Yeah, no. At the end of 15 turns, I still had most of a Panther left. I did push his untouched awesome off of the map, I think turn 7.
Oh, that's value.
It was with that Panther. That was the only kill I got. And technically, it was just lost because it was untouched. I'm sure after the battle, it formed up with the rest of its lance and they all just like walked off home. None of them, except for that awesome, had any armor. Like all locations were severely touched. I was very good at finding and locating any pips of armor and taking those off. wasn't interested in hitting internal structure or any components or anything like that. He, on the other hand, seemed to have homing missiles that lock in on ammo bins and hip actuators. It was a bloody mess, and I held out for not winning initiative and for having so many ammo crits. I held out for a long time, but eventually my Jump 8 Panther is just like, oh, I can drag this on for another 5 turns, but it's getting pretty late, so I'm just going to try for 1 kill. And I managed to take off the last bits of armor on 3 different locations on his Phoenix Hawk, and that was it. It was just armor. It's just his Phoenix Hawk was just an internal structure walking around. That's all it was, front and back.
It's like peeling an apple, man.
It was amazing. Had 3 pilot hits because I scraped all the armor off the head. But finally, the Panther ran out of plasma rifle ammo, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Well, I'll try and kick you, but getting close to a mech who just gave the others enough ability, like the TMM was low enough that they got enough hits to take out the engine. It was exciting and it was fun, and I lost worse than I think I ever have in the last decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brutal.
That's BattleTech for you.
It's true.
If we had been playing with the front-loaded initiative from the initiative deck, I think I would have done better because at least I would have been able to go after some of his units. But as it was either I moved my mech and he moved all of his, or he moved all of his and I moved mine, but I never won initiative. So I never got to go after anybody.
Sure.
I always went first.
Well, just more evidence that front-loaded may be the way to go.
Yeah, we've been discussing it on the Discords, but just more. Got to play more games. Figure it out.
We always need to play more games, Denim.
Always. It's a fantastic game. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah. We'll wrap up with some quick events. We've got 3 from the MRC community. We've got Company Commander 2 in the whole month of July. That is a company-sized list of mechs that you make and then you deploy from. So it's essentially you start with a big old sideboard and you do the missions from that. And it's got what makes it unique is persistent damage in between games. Special pilot abilities are on, quirks are on, and they've got a whole bunch of other little advanced rules. So it's probably the closest to like a campaign play month. So
I would do terrible at that. I would do absolutely terrible. I have this horrible mentality of I paid for armor. I'm using armor. I will throw my guys into the grinder just to try to get a kill, and I will be out of mechs by mission 2, guaranteed.
But if you're using SPAs and quirks, you just take a bunch of marauders, so that you've got you're only taking half damage on so many hits anyway. I think
I will manage to be out of mechs.
Low profile. I can't remember.
I don't think so.
But there are a lot of quirks and SPAs that if used together can really make your mechs last much, much longer. It's a dangerous thing, especially if you're not paying BV for them, because there's no BV cost for those. So it could be a very interesting group. I'd love to see what the meta ends up being at the end of that. I'm curious.
We'll see how it shakes out. Yeah,
I will be paying attention.
Sam over at the MRC is really statistics driven, so he should have some good data for us if we ask him.
Good.
We've got the Turn and Burn Aerospace Learners Tournament. So this is less competitive hardcore tournament, more like, hey, if you want to like just throw some aerospace fighters and learn how to do them in like a...
We've got an aerospace urban mech now, so
exactly.
Try them out.
This is the best time to use it. It's like, hey, you've got pre-planned opponents with varying skills. Everyone's going to be learning. You're going to be forced to fly, essentially. And they've got some fun missions to like learn different things while you do it. So that is also for the whole month of July. And of course, we have NashCon in August, and that is 3 days plus the bonus pickup action on the night before. You've got Alpha Strike Narrative on Thursday. You've got 3 games of Classic BattleTech tournament on Saturday and a 3-game Alpha Strike tournament on Sunday. You've got painting competitions all across the weekend, cosplay, and it's everything you want in a BattleTech tournament. And that's in Nashville. So good job.
It sounds exciting. It really does. And I'd love to make it down, but I've got birthdays to attend that I can't really get out of. Otherwise, my wife will kill me.
Your own birthdays?
No. It's my kids. So
take them down. I don't know.
When they're older, I might. Yeah, absolutely. But right now, they'll probably chew on the lead-based miniatures. That would end well.
It's tough to find those.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got lots of them, but normally it's tough to find those now.
Did you chew on your miniatures, Denim?
No, I was not quite that young. I 100% have played with people who I will look up and they are sucking on a metal miniature back in the old days.
They taste great.
I guess. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But I have lead miniatures painted with lead-based paint. And who knows how that will affect me later in life. It's
already affected you, Denim. You just don't realize it.
Yeah, but who knows how it'll affect me later in life.
And on that note, let's take a quick break and then we'll get into our main subject today, which is, hey, Black Betty, Blam the LAM. Grillers Gone Wild is proud to announce their newest partnership with the Lyran Commonwealth Tech Division to bring you the new ER Flammenwerfer. Now, with the hottest plasma torch containment technology and new miniaturized nozzles, you can verf flammens on all those pesky infantry blobs to your heart's content. So come on down to see the hottest commercial grills to the most combat-effective war crime weapons on the battlefield. Whether you're cooking turkeys with the techs or roasting falcons on the field, Grillers Gone Wild has all the tech to make you sweat. And today, we are talking about the biggest experimental of all, the poster boy of lawsuits, rages, narrative only, and historical wargaming. That's right, people. We're talking about Land Air Mechs.
You could just call them what they are, Josh. Abominations.
So we could put in like the intro for the Robotech show right here, right? We've got the rights to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
we've got just as much rights as they.
That's right.
So what are Land Air Mechs in general?
In general, they are awesome, for sure.
We answered this question. They're abominations, period, at end of sentence. We're done.
You'd think that being a Jade Falcon person, you'd be more into it.
Look, partial wings are great. They're wings on a mech. The mech jumps. They fall with style. They glide farther. This all makes sense. This is some sort of Transformer nonsense where wings pop out and then they're flying and then they're crashing. It's a mess. It's a mess. And the rules are just as messy.
Oh, the rules are messy. I will give you that. Man. But, while the Smoke Jaguars were out there like developing proto-mechs, it was the Jade Falcons who were tinkering with the Phoenix Hawk Lamb, trying to make a dual cockpit version of it. They were doing a lot of stuff, and it's never been confirmed that they stopped. So your glorious Jade Falcons are probably going to come out with the next installment of the Lambs, the dual cockpit, one battle mech pilot, one aerospace pilot, so you don't have to do the cross training.
This is when we find out the Urban Mech Lamb is a Jade Falcon produced.
Oh, I should have put a dual cockpit in this sucker. Yeah.
I would cry.
I'm going to do that. I'm putting a note down right now. Dual cockpit Lamb Irby.
All right. So, who do we have to thank for Lambs?
Harmony Gold.
Oh, technically in America, yes, but in Japan, Studio Nue for transformable mecha for Macross / Robotech. That's where we thank Harmony Gold, the Robotech part specifically.
Yeah, because the Phoenix Hawk had multiple modes. So when they legally purchased the artwork for it, it had different types. So they're like, we can do that. Why not? So I believe it was Aerospace. The first Aerotech book that came out in 1986 had rules for converting mechs into Land Air Mechs.
And just as important in that 1986 edition, the scientists were so preoccupied figuring out if they could, they never stopped to ask whether they should or not. I cannot stress how much I hate these things.
All right. Who else was already born when this book came out? That was me. Anyone else?
Only you.
Only me. I see why other people don't like it.
So
they're just too young.
So we have to pause and Denim, I know you watched Macross / Robotech.
I did.
You probably watched more Macross.
No, I watched both because Macross and Robotech are two different
Yep.
shows, and I have watched them both.
Steve,
So
what about
yes.
you?
Neither
Nope.
for me. I was never a big anime person.
I mean, I'm not either, but this was like proto anime.
I need to find a new podcast.
Macross I've seen described not as anime, but as soap opera in space, and that's the media they chose. Like there are not really any.
To be fair, in Japan doesn't have the room for a Hollywood. Like their entire country is the size of California, and there's a big ass mountain in the middle of it. So you don't have the room. They don't have the resources for a Hollywood. So a lot of their movies are in fact animated because that's what they have. So that's not wrong. But then again, a lot of anime is very soap opera-ish, like a lot of them. Even Kimagure Orange Road, very high school soap opera.
I'm trying to think where. I don't even know where I would have seen this. I mean, I grew up without cable, right? So I don't even know where I would have come across this if, I had the opportunity to be exposed to it, because it wasn't on, Saturday morning cartoons, not on.
It's definitely for the older generation that could have watched it when it was on Saturday morning cartoons, because it was.
Star Blazers was. I don't ever remember Robotech being Saturday morning. I think it was more of a.
I don't think Saturday morning. I think
like after school.
It was after school.
Okay, because I mean, I remember Thundercats. I remember He-Man.
This was way before any of that.
No. I understand, but I'm just saying. I remember those when I got home from school or in the morning, but not this.
But anyways, what I was going to ask is, Dedham, what did you think of transformable Land Air Mecha in the original source material?
Oh yeah, that's what sold me on it. It certainly wasn't Minmay and her singing or whatever. It was the mech that could turn into an aerospace fighter, that could turn into this other hybrid thing and could shoot missiles and dodge. Yeah, it was. I was very entranced by the idea of a variable fighter that could do everything.
Everyone wanted to fly the F-14 Tomcat that turned into a giant robot.
Transformed.
Yeah.
Yep. Super loved it. You probably can't see up on my shelf over there. I've got at least 6 different ones, and I have more in boxes that I haven't unpacked yet.
So we mentioned that they were in the Aerotech 1986 edition, and then
officially they were released in the BattleTech Compendium that came out in 1990.
Good old Compendium.
Yep. And that's the one that had like the Timberwolf on the front with the elemental that was shot by something, so you could still see the pilot in there smoking his cigar. The elemental just
that's like that super famous picture.
Well, no, you've even talked about that before. If you go back over the other podcast, you have specifically mentioned the picture of the elemental who had half of the armor blown off, where he's over there smoking a cigar. Absolutely, you have.
I always thought he was like, it was just cut away. It wasn't blown off.
No, this is definitely blown off.
Yeah, I'm seeing that now. But okay, so we've talked about what they are in Macross and Robotech. What are they in BattleTech? Are they the same exactly?
They're not quite as awesome. It's definitely the Veritech fighter we have at home type of thing. Because the BattleTech tried to be more realistic, more grounded, and obviously we don't have a lot of anime type fights in BattleTech. They wanted it more like World War II type tech. So imagine if a Veritech fighter had been introduced in right around or after World War II. That's the kind of tech we're looking at here. Oof. So it's a little bit clumsier, a little bit slower. Still in BattleTech terms, it's incredibly agile, super maneuverable. But it is, in fact, a jack of all trades and a master of absolutely none of those. It has no real strengths. It just has I can also do that. A bit.
Yeah. So my thought is, if they've been around since 86 and then 90, like this is predating clans, and somehow clans like still around. Like we fought several wars to kick the clans out. They're still here. Why are lambs not here as like hardcore?
I mean, they did come back a little bit during, what was it? Some of your Blakists. That's the other people who have lambs aside from the Jade Falcons is the word of Blake. So, you tell me. What have you been doing with the lambs? You just hiding them on some other planet again?
Yes. Exactly how. Yeah. I mean, in universe, they're really Star League and then weirdly Succession War for like lore faction characters and then Jihad.
Yeah, because it was like, what, 2680, something like that?
Yeah, like the year wise. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't consider them transformable mechs that can, go to fighter mode and shoot things. I consider them transformable mechs with the ability to shoot lawsuits and flown by the most elite lawyers.
Yeah, and they're all named Rick.
So, this is the most important question. Steve, do you own a lamb?
Thankfully, no.
Have you ever wanted to buy a lamb?
Absolutely not.
Denham,
how many lambs do you own?
I have the 3 originals. I've got the Phoenix Hawk, the Wasp, and the Stinger lambs. 2 of them are finished painted, and one of them is just base coated and has been for 30-something years.
Yeah. I
only base coated? Only base coated?
There's a bit of dust on there.
No, I've never... This type of unit has never tickled my fancy. I've never been interested in something like this. If I want a robot that's going to stomp around and shoot things, I want a robot that's going to stomp around and shoot things. If I want something that's going to jump, it's going to jump. If I want to do aerospace, I might splash aerospace into a game, but I certainly don't want something that's bad at all of those.
I get that for sure, because like we said already, they're not great at anything. They're just good-ish at everything. Yeah, if you're going to be running a game of BattleTech, you should bring mechs. You should. I do a lot of role playing, and I'm sure I've stated this before, but the players in my campaigns are like elite special forces operatives, so they have a wide range of skills. And instead of having multiple different vehicles, it's just easier for them to pilot lambs. It's they can do a little bit of everything, and their skills make up for the weaknesses inherent in the systems.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, as long as the players are having fun, that's okay too, right?
Yeah. So it's like story based. It's like they're going up against the chaff of the enemy, and their lambs are superior.
But I own the Juanita.
Right, that's one of the Blake ones.
That is the Spectral series, not the Celestials. Celestials are the Omni-Mechs. The Spectrals are the Land Air Mechs for the Blakest.
Right. The Puka.
Yeah.
You need to buy more vowels for those guys.
They are Native American, which I actually really enjoyed that. 2 vowels cost BV.
Is that because helicopters in the Army are named after Native American tribes?
I hadn't thought about that, but that makes a lot more sense now that I think about it.
I remember telling my brother that, and he's like, Huey isn't an Indian name. I'm like, that's because it's called the Iroquois. That's its name. It's a UH-1 Iroquois, so they call it the Huey because UH-1.
I didn't know that. I learned something today.
That's right.
Technically, the Yuri is Japanese, so you know what? They got 2 out of 3. I was like, wait, one of these isn't. I will say the book that these are probably the most well mentioned in is probably the most non-canonical of all books in BattleTech, which is like kind of ironic in my like reading of all. Like, oh,
but have you read the sequel?
Still waiting.
Jason will get there eventually.
That's right. So which book we talk about, Josh?
We're talking about Far Country.
That's right.
Because if you want birds and then bird mechs, there's only one book bird for you.
but not the cool birds, not the green birds. They're like,
I'm telling you, you just wait. They're working on them. So you just wait.
all right, I'll wait.
They're going to retake Terra with lambs.
Moving on. Gosh. Oh.
Then I'm looking to start a fight.
This is going to be essentially keep coming back up. Is lambs have came into Battletech, dropped out, came back in. There's essentially cyclical in their existence and the lore in the game, which is
and why is that? Like, why is that?
Because
it's because they're not good, but they're cool. Because something can be cool and not good at the same time, and they're cool enough that it just
keep
won't
buying
die.
them.
Yeah.
I disagree with your assertion, Denim. I suspect it's because the IP keeps changing hands and everyone thinks it's a good idea to maybe try their hand at fixing them. And they realize, oh no, these are hot garbage and should have been left in the dirt where they belong.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that when it does change IP, some of them just don't want to touch it at all, but the public demands it. Therefore, they keep trying. Yeah, but I don't think their heart's in it. I think they need to have someone who's like really dedicated to it to actually fix them.
Someone who's been playing for a very long time and may or may not have
love.
Sucked on lead models. Someone named
the lead
Denim.
helps. The lead helps.
I mean, the problem is there are people that we know in the Catalyst, decision-making group that is like, no, lambs should not come back hardcore. And other people are like, lambs have always been here. So it's kind of like this weird, everyone has a hardcore opinion on lambs.
They never left.
Yeah.
I'd be real curious to see the old, right? I mean, I wonder if the opinions shift on the old guard, the older players versus newer players, right? I'd be really curious to see what that divide looks like.
Well, the April Fool's joke lamb urban mech is selling well enough that I think that covers. I think it's going to be a bigger support group than you think.
We'll find out. I'm hoping that CGL doesn't stake the farm on a meme mech.
All right. So
have you met them?
So that's buying lambs. That's easy. We can go to any store, eBay, or I guess now even Catalyst, the website itself, to buy lambs. The problem is we're on our fourth rules for lambs, which is weird. Like out of everything for BattleTech,
I think it's the third. I think I only know of 3 actual rule changes.
So first one would be when they first came out in
86.
86. Yeah. And then when Tiro 3085 came out, and that's 2010.
Well, the 1990 rule change in the BattleTech compendium that had some changes in it.
Okay, I'm counting that. That's why.
Okay, but I think that one was pretty much the same as what they published in the technical readout.
Okay, that would make sense because then you have in 2010 TRO 3085 where they actually released the Word of Blake lambs, so they include rules of how to operate them. They're still experimental. It's just now we have rules in essentially the record sheet bind packet. And then in Gen Con 2015, LAM rules are updated for Interstellar Operations Beta, which then makes it into the final printing. Huzzah. And this is when a lot of people got angry because apparently in that weird 2010 to 2015 period, lambs are really good.
They seemed good, but were people playing them correctly? We don't know.
Without the internet, it's hard to tell.
I was going to ask Josh, you said a lot of people were angry. Was it a lot of people or was it 2 really vocal people?
It's probably the vocal unwashed masses.
They don't know what they want.
No.
They don't know what's good for them.
3 or 4 rules changes to get lambs where they are. And I guess technically we have a 5th new rules for lambs, and that's using them for Alpha Strike, which is, as we all know, the easiest rule set of all.
It's certainly the shortest. I'm gonna say that.
It's maybe a page and a half or 2 columns in the book. It's really not very much in the Alpha Strike rule book. And frankly, I think it's a great place to kind of get our feet wet before we dive into the absolute disaster that is classic rules.
Well, being that there are official Urban Mech LAM Alpha Strike cards, let's start with that.
Sure. So basically, right, in Alpha Strike, there are 2 types of lambs. You've got regular lambs and then BIMs, which are like bimodal. They lack the intermediary stage.
There's only like a few of those, and they're not really.
There was
real.
a Shadowhawk, and I think they made 3 of them total. Yes.
The champion too, which I mean, the champion looks like it would be a lamb.
Yeah. But no. So effectively, the way you use these in Alpha Strike is really not very much different from a normal battle mech, except if you want to utilize the LAM ability, right? You select your movement mode at the beginning of your movement phase, and if you change into air mech mode, you count as a wedge, which makes you susceptible to flak shots, and functionally that's really it. You do take what I like about Alpha Strike is that it boils everything down, and it makes lambs a little bit easier. I mean, a lot of it easier, frankly, if we're being honest. But you get your +2 to shooting as if you were jumping because you're in air mech mode, and you get a +1 to TMM because you're flying in the air like you were if you were jumping. And those are the major points, right? And then if you go into fighter mode, you function as an aerospace unit, which no one knows the rules for anyway because no one plays aerospace. But if you did want to, if you put it into fighter mode, that's how you do your LAM. So that's really the long and short of how to use lambs in Alpha Strike.
I know for both Classic and Alpha Strike, you do get bonus points if you go and make transformer noises when they transform. I do know that is a fact. That's somewhere in the rules. I couldn't find it while prepping for this episode, but I know I've seen that written down somewhere.
It's just like the same rule, the corollary, that if you make pew pew noises when you're shooting, you roll better.
That's right.
Yeah, right. But I mean, that's really how they function in Alpha Strike. And you have the same thing like damaging criticals. They'll crash if they get immobilized or anything else. But they're kind of cool. I mean, the rules
right. They're kind of cool, right? I agree. Good job.
No. What is kind of cool is not the lamb. Josh, cut that out. Cut that out. No, I didn't say that. No, what is kind of cool is that they make this just ball of wax very manageable, right? They really do boil it down to, like I said, 2 columns in the rule book. It's a little bit convoluted. You got to flip to a couple different pages to find out what some of the things they're talking about are. But overall, it's not nearly the Charlie Foxtrot that Classic is.
And I think it's worth pointing out at this point that we are not going over all of the rules for lambs. That's nobody wants to listen to that. That's a 4-hour spaghetti of an episode. We're just talking about lambs and some of their cool things because they have a lot of cool things.
We're going to baby bird you,
but we will certainly let you know, where to go for the rules for these. It's just too many. It's just too many rules, and it is super complicated. Like not a little bit. It is super complicated.
So if you are curious of using lambs in Alpha Strike and you want to find them, they're on page 177 of the Alpha Strike Commander's Edition, 6th edition printing. Oh. That's where you can start.
And you heard it here first. Steve thinks they're cool.
I didn't say that.
You literally said that.
I said they're kind of cool. I'm not going to fight you.
Winning.
You forgot the hashtag, old man.
All right, let's move into Classic, where it's not even rubber meets the road. It's where the crash landing aerospace fighter hits the tarmac, because it's rough, folks. It's really rough. We're going to start with the easiest part, mech mode. This is when your Land Air Mech just decides to be a mech. P.S. That's the easiest. Any special rules in this? No.
Rules for that is go by the BattleTech manual. Yep. You got it. You're done.
Fantastic. I'm done.
So good. It's like if people want to take lamps, it's like just restrict them. There's no transforming.
Breaks my heart.
Now, let's say you want to take that pretty cool battle mech and make it a little bit cooler. Like marry it with a aerospace fighter and have a baby.
Some sort of unholy hybrid.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. That air mech
that is going to be, I'm going to paint that on my next lamb is unholy hybrid. I like that. I like that a lot. I will freehand that on the side.
Question is, how do we get to this cool air mech mode? Well, you got to convert. Now, we're not talking convert like to the Word of Blake. I've already done that. Terrible process. Would not do again.
I mean, you technically have to because now most all of the lambs are in fact owned by Word of Blake. So start that conversion.
Yeah. All right.
You're going to have to get interstellar operations alternate eras, though. That is step one.
I have to
or
buy
step
another
2.
book? Denim, you're not selling me on these. I have to buy another book.
It's BattleTech, man. The rules won't change, but you do have to buy books.
Okay, that's a good point. Literally, lambs are the quintessential aspect of BattleTech where it can be as complicated as you want. How deep down this rabbit hole do you want to go? Because lambs, they're way, way down there. But we have rules for that and tables. We do. So it's a deep hole. And step 1 is being insane enough to want to play with lambs. And step 2 is getting yourself a copy of the Interstellar Operations alternate eras. That's also where you're going to find the tripods and super heavies and stuff. So it's worth getting anyway.
That's true. Tripods are cool.
They are. There are no tripod lambs or quad lambs. That's not allowed.
Yet. Maybe Jade Falcon will start working on tripod lambs. Then I would play a lamb.
All right. You just sealed your fate there. I'm going to make this happen.
Look, I want an official Catalyst tripod lamb.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right. If you can make that happen and you make it available to Jade Falcon on the MUL, I'll run one.
Deal.
So we're converting mech to air mech mode for our Jade Falcon friends. When does that happen? That happens start of the movement phase, ends at the end of the movement phase. So the entire conversion takes place in one phase. That's acceptable. Where it gets a little rough is you've got a +3 for shooting if you convert that turn.
It's hard to keep that gun straight while like just go watch any Transformers show, cartoon and or movie and yeah, there's no way.
Now, there is no restriction. You can convert back the next turn.
Yep.
That I like that this isn't like time restrictive. The problem is it's restrictive in literally everything else.
Yes.
Now, once you're in air mech mode, that's when things get a little weird. You're literally half aerospace fighter, half mech. So it's going to get weird. You can walk. You can run. Cool. Technically, can you jump? Can you? I don't think so.
In the original aerospace rules, yes, your jump was your original mech jump ×3. But you could choose to not land. Now, though, they've changed it to your wedge movement, so you take off and land basically as a wedge. So that is different. It used to be you could either jump really, really far and then jump the next turn, which was incredibly powerful. And then if you decided to stay in the air, you were treated as a VTOL. But now they're just, hey, wedges exist, so we're just gonna do that.
Because you're just like a wedge.
A wing and ground effect vehicle.
Yeah. Can't fly, but you can kind of hover.
So again, the rules for lambs are like 10 pages long in this book, and it doesn't even tell you like exactly how they move. They reference the rules for wedges. So it's a 10-page document that has other references in it.
This is just another reason why lambs are terrible.
Well, it seems like the kind of thing that Josh would love because nobody's going to read all those rules, so he can basically do whatever he wants with it.
That hurts.
Nobody's going to question that.
That hurts so much. It happened once. I'm sorry.
No, you got caught once.
I got caught once. That's true.
That's it. You're on everyone's radar now, Josh.
Yeah.
Can't get away with anything.
So air mech mode, like I said, you can walk and run because like you're still a mech. Like you can still walk and run on the ground. Now, once you go fast and you want to do actual wing and ground effect stuff, you can cruise and you can flank just like a hovercraft or a wig. So you can only use one movement profile per turn. You don't get anything weird like, okay, I'm going to run and then convert into cruising mode. Nope. You got to pick one. The problem is your walk speed really reduced. Your run really reduced. These are not meant for ground movement.
No, you could waddle. You can waddle around.
Yeah. You've got some weird calculations for actually like each of those movement profiles is a math formula based on your original mech movement. And I'm like, this is terrible. Why
Well,
would
Steve's going to love this because when you are flying around like a widge, whether or not you have alternate rules and stuff turned on, you have to use the advanced rules for turn modes, which is in a different book. It's in Tactical Operations Advanced Rules. So it's if you're going to use one, you still have to use an alternate rules type for movement modes. Yeah, so it's just, again, in that 10-page document, just a reference that says, oh, by the way, it moves like this. Go over there to read those. And that's another 2 pages.
I have a question. Josh called it a wig. We've been saying widge. I'm looking at it written out. There's no D there.
no?
Now I got another fight about pronunciation.
Wig.
Wig?
I don't know.
The British pronunciation.
Not widge. Widge. W-I-G-E. Widge.
Which, yeah, I know, but if I were to write widge how it's spelled, I would put a D in there, and there's no D in there.
Well, English is dumb, so I don't know.
Well, we'll fight about it later.
Yeah.
Now,
I'll pronounce it. I've never heard it pronounced officially. So if you can convey what you're trying to say, I will accept that pronunciation for this.
Now, what I was going to say is we're not going to cover even the wing and ground effect rules because
Nope, we're not. That's in Total Warfare, right?
yeah, like that,
Yeah.
that's in the basic rule book.
It's not in Battle Mech Manual. So because you've converted, now you need at least Total Warfare, Tactical Operations, Advanced Rules, and Interstellar Operations Alternate Eras.
Too much. It's too much, man.
Lambs were created to sell more books.
It's all a conspiracy.
I'd almost believe that.
And I fell for it.
Big
Knowingly.
publishers out to get you.
Now, I will say the next thing is how I would run them if I was allowed to take them to a regular random pickup game and I was just like, I'm already in air mech mode and I'm just going to put it in hover mode. And I just spend 5 movement points and I can move 0 to 4 hexes and I ignore any wig restrictions. I'm going low enough and I'm using my jump jets to like maneuver. I'm just hovering.
Well, yeah, and since you're using widge movement, if you do go over like a higher type of terrain, you automatically go up like all by itself.
Mhm.
And if you go down, then you can actually build up speed and get extra speed if you're like going down a mountain. You know, that's all in there. Those are all widge rules.
Yeah. And I don't want to deal with that. So I'm just going to put it in hover mode, which is just 0 to 4
You're gonna
hexes.
go really slow.
Yeah. I'm crawling, but I'm going faster than walk mode.
Man, walk mode really is very slow. Holy smokes.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Looking at
thing.
this, it's like terrible.
Yeah, I created that Urban Mech Lamb. The Urban Mech is a 2-3-2, but you can't do that. Lambs have a minimum 3 jump speed, so they have to be 3-5-3 to begin with, so that when they turn into air mech mode, they go 1-2 because you know they're slow.
Now, so let's just say we've covered air mech mode. As terrible and hard as it's going to be. If you land, you just go to elevation 0. That's pretty easy, and you gain altitude just like a VTOL. Pretty easy. You're in the air, you do air things. Let's say you want to go to aerofighter mode. You got to be in the air if you want to, keep going. Conservation of momentum here, folks. Don't crash. So you got to be high up.
So here's a question, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lamb. Ugh, that just makes my skin crawl just saying that. Hypothetically, I have a lamb.
You admitted it.
Hypothetically, I have a lamb. I convert it into an air mech 1 turn. Can I convert it straight from a mech to a fighter in the same turn, or do I have to stop in that intermediate stage?
You have to stop at the intermediate phase.
So then,
according
second
to this
turn,
table here in this 10-page document, unless you've got bimodal, if you're the Phoenix, the Shadowhawk bimodal one, it goes from mech to aerospace fighter, and that's it. But according to this, it shows the conversions that go. It goes mech to air mech to aerospace fighter, back to air mech, back to regular mech.
So if I'm going to go all the way up and all the way down, it's going to take me like 5 turns to do.
If you're going all the way up and then all the way back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Look,
4 turns.
I plan
if
on
you don't
dying
count the
the
turn
first
order.
phase, all right? So I don't have to worry about the rest of it.
That's true.
Yeah, it's best to like start in the mode you want to be in. But yeah, once you're in airfighter mode, you are just an
aerospace fighter.
Yeah, like
just like when you're in a mech mode, you're a mech. Yep.
So this is why when people are like, "Oh, I want to run lambs," I'm like, "You don't want to run lambs. You just want to run air mech mode."
100%. That is all I want to be doing. There are occasional times when I might be in a mech, but that's if I'm going to run into a building, like something underground, something where I can't take advantage of the movement profile of the air mech mode. But 95% of the time, I am in air mech mode. 4% of the time I'm in battle mech mode, and that 1% of the time where I want to get to my dropship, which is probably in orbit, I just want to fly up there from the ground and park. That's what aerospace fighter mode is for. It's so that I can have 6 mechs in a Leopard class dropship because it has 4 mech bays and 2 aerospace bays, and my lambs are parked in the aerospace bays.
That's free like real estate for lambs.
That's right.
Feels like cheating.
Now, the other cool thing about the Land Air Mech mode is it is 1 level high. So
it's true.
Like that's the cool thing about them in my brain. Not
you can't take partial cover.
You can't take partial cover. You're hidden. So I have,
which is nice. You can hide. That is good.
Yeah. We're talking back to Air Mech mode because, like I said, that's what everyone wants to do.
Right.
The problem is the modifiers for combat. It's +1 for walking, normal. +2 for running, also normal.
Sure.
+3 if you're in cruising. So if you're in like wig mode and you're going wig speeds, it's +3. If you want to go flank speed, which is probably what you're trying to do, you're trying to get a lot of speed out of this. +4. So you better be a really good pilot.
I mean, this would be the appropriate place to put pulse lasers and targeting computers on there. Like, there's a reason for it there. But if you can afford to put, like, it takes 10% to convert to a LAM.
Mm-hmm.
When you build it, that's a lot of weight. Like, that's 4.5 tons. If you're a 45-ton mech, that's a lot. That's a whole lot. So you don't have a lot of room to put pulsed weapons and targeting computers. So you are punished for it, which is sad. They did nerf my favorite attack, though.
Which one?
For sure. Well, I mean, you go really, 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 really fast as a LAM. If there's a big target that just has to die, what are you going to do? You're going to move like 25 hexes and
speed.
Ram the hell out of it, right? You're just going to obliterate that. The problem is that they know, the writers know that is an insane maneuver. Therefore, if you're in air mech mode and you want to ram, the first thing you have to do is you have to roll 2d6 in order to represent the pilot's effort to summon the willpower for such a suicidal maneuver. And you have to get at 11 or 12 to even get your pilot to attempt it. And then there's a whole bunch of rules, like it's a base to hit a 5, and then you add your piloting modifier or your piloting skill and subtract the target's piloting skill, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. But it's really hard to pull off, which is a bummer.
I mean, it makes sense because like that pilot knows it's not coming back from that.
It makes sense again from a role playing standpoint, because that's how I used to play them, was role playing, and yeah, that's 100%. But when most people are playing a pickup game, they don't care about their pilots. They don't care about the mechs. They just care about the objectives and whether they win or lose. Therefore, having a couple of 25 to 40 movement cruise missiles that will just obliterate anything on the board, that was a lot of fun.
I mean, maybe the rules could be modified to account for some of the fervor that the Word of Blake enjoys, right? They just in Blake's name, and then
I mean, if you're playing a campaign, you're fighting against fanatical jihad level Word of Blake, where no one's coming back. All my LAM
pilots, all my LAM pilots have extra edge, and they use them all.
Yeah, and they use them for that role.
Only that role.
They do have some problems in combat. On the receiving end, I should say, flak. So pretty much anything that would you would think would kill hovercraft or something better if they're using hover, cruise, or flank speed. So if they're essentially in air mech mode doing the air mech thing, yeah, it's easy to hit them just like a VTOL.
If you're using
Alpha
quirks,
Strike.
yeah. If you're using quirks, riflemen and hatchetmen get bonuses against them when they're in air mech mode.
They can't even torso twist. So
not in LAM mode. Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to mention this just because they can take bombs.
Right, but they pretty much only use them in aerospace mode. They don't drop them in air mech mode.
You can actually drop them in air mech mode.
Oh,
yeah. So it's like
I don't know if that's changed or if
that,
because I remember using bombs. I just don't remember using them in so that's cool. It doesn't quite make up for the rolling at 11 or 12 to be able to do my ram attacks, but
no.
That's cool.
Now, the cool thing is the rules for all bombing is in Total Warfare, so we're not going to cover that.
That's right.
Yeah, we only have one book for that portion.
Yeah. So at this point, we're at 3 or 4 books? For
3, I believe.
Being that Total Warfare covers like basically everything in Battle Mech Manual, we're at 3 books right now.
We're at 3 books right now. So those are like the good things. Like for heat, you are counted as having a partial wing because you got so much air moving over that wing.
Yeah.
You get -3, just like a partial wing.
That seems to be the only benefit so far.
I mean, speed and -3 to heat.
Yeah, but your speed is counteracted by the fact that you can't shoot for anything.
Yeah.
So right now I'm just seeing this as like a really expensive heat sink. This is what I'm getting out of this as we go over this stuff.
You're not wrong. I will say the really bad thing is, all those like parts of a mech that they take damage and you don't really care about them.
Oh, the crunchy bits? Yeah.
Yeah, the crunchy bits. The juicy bits that hurt because we're getting older. Denim, how's that shoulder actuator doing?
It's the hip actuator, but thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were a Land Air Mech and your hip actuator was hit, you can't go into fighter mode anymore. If any of your like upper stuff, all of your like essentially anything from the torso up, any shoulder, arm, or lower arms, you can't go into battle mech mode. So, and if you have a gyro hit, you can't do anything at all. So legs prevent fighter mode, arms prevent battle mech mode, gyros prevent everything mode.
Yeah, and that's important because when you're in air mech mode and you're landing, normally it's free. Like you just get to land. It's an easy maneuver. But if you take anything that modifies your PSRs, then you absolutely have to take a PSR with all those modifiers every time you attempt to land, which can get really, really bad when you're moving really fast.
I thought you said lambs were cool and worked really well, and they were great, and you should take them. None of this is making sense, Denim.
Explosions are cool.
Yeah.
Wrecks are cool.
Other guys' explosions are cool. When my stuff explodes, I get mad.
No. See, then you're not you do not grok the BattleTech yet. I like mechs exploding. I do not care if they're mine or someone else's. I want to see mechs explode. Therefore, I always end a game happy because something exploded.
One day, I will attain your level of Zen.
That's right.
But until that day, I will be mad on turn 1 when I just get gyro shot and I'm stuck in a Clint for 3 hours.
Yeah. No, I get that. And yet you still play. That's the amazing part.
I am nothing if not determined. Yeah. Some would say stubborn.
All right. Did I miss any major LAM rules that?
No, I did look it up and see that in fighter mode, LAMs use bombs as aerospace fighters. If they're in air mech mode, they use them as VTOLs, which is covered in a different book. So that's not in the Total Warfare. That's VTOL bombs is in Tactical Operations Advanced Rules.
Really? I thought it was Total Warfare, but look at that.
It says see page 106.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But anyways. Okay. So they're rough.
Can't torso twist, can use bombs. Partial wing, yeah, that's a change. The partial wing thing and the widge thing were changes later on. So those are, I think those are both good.
So now that we've covered kind of the overview, the like literally 30,000 feet view of lambs, we're in airspace fighter mode. Should lambs stay experimental?
Yes.
Oh man, like part of me is like they should be in the next like beginner box set. It's a bad idea, like for real. I think experimental is definitely where these things belong.
These are the definition of experimental, like
right.
I don't see. I mean, again, I'm coming from a position of I don't particularly like these things.
But you could if they streamline the rules a little bit. I think.
Well, that I think is a huge hurdle, right? Getting 5 different books and looking through all of them and checking all the stuff. It's a huge undertaking when you only have a couple hours at the local game shop. It's just not practicable.
It feels to me, and this could be just my opinion. It could be fact. I don't know, but for now we'll file it under my opinion. I feel that that lambs are popular and people want them, and some of the developers who did not want them but were talked into including lambs still are using these rules as a gateway block to prevent people from using them more often. They're like, fine, we'll put them in, but we're going to spread the rules out to 3 or 4 different books, and we're going to make them like super complicated, and you have to know how like all these different units function in order to use one, and no one's going to remember all that. They're hard to use, and I hope it's not intentional. It feels kind of a little bit intentional, and I would like them streamlined.
I don't know if it's intentional, Denim, but I think the problem is just being the weird amalgamation of what lambs are. It necessitates rules being, you're pulling rules from all these different clusters of, where you're looking, right? I mean, you're pulling rules from all over the place. So I think it's a natural result of just being whatever these horrible abominations are.
You're not wrong.
But I like them. I like them.
You're welcome to like them, Tim. I'm not saying you're wrong for liking them.
The liking is it's 100%. It's
nostalgia plus rules plus
very
cool.
Very much nostalgia. It is a preteen kid watching Macross for the first time and then finding a game where I can pilot that. It's it makes me feel like a kid again, for sure. Reading through these prepping for this, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of stuff either that I remembered wrong or I don't remember having to flip through this many books, or maybe I just didn't have that book, so I just kind of glossed over some of that. I don't know. It's complicated. It is not just I'm bringing lambs today, by the way, guys. So, I hope everyone's cool with that. Nobody's cool with that.
Nobody's cool.
Nobody. That is a definite planned event. I, again, would file this very, very securely under role-playing.
And stuff. In that way, I can see them being useful and or even flavorful, right? But for any sort of pickup game or tournament game, I think these ought to be left on the shelf. No questions about it.
I mean, that's what the experimental is. Yeah. So are they OP? Because a lot of things that I saw on the forums were like, they were OP and now they're nerfed to hell, like to unusability.
I think they were OP because I think a lot of the people who were using them were not using them 100% according to the rules. I think if they were playing them by the rules, they were a little bit more balanced. They're not easy to play. They've never been easy to play. There are some... I take that back. There are some rules that were just not thought out well, which gave them, if used in very specific ways, they were super cheese, and by super cheese would be overpowered. Sure, then yes, they've been tweaked a little bit. Some of that stuff has been fixed. I would say, ton for ton, they are not competitive right now. Especially since you have to roll that, and I really think it's that rolling of the 11 or 12 to do the RAM type thing. I think that's what brought them back from being overpowered.
I mean, I know. Other than that, the +3 when you're converting,
right? And you have to fly with the alternate turn mode, so you're going to be side slipping and fishtailing all over the place if you're trying to swivel around and get a move 30 and get behind somebody. Yeah. It's hard.
You're not going to be going full
hard.
speed on a regular BattleTech map. Maybe
It
like the
feels
old
like you're-
ones, which have like 3 patches of trees and all level 0.
Yeah, it feels like you're playing like Robo Rally or something.
Even if you were going to slip and slide all over the map and try to move fast about it, you're still not going to hit anything without a lot of help. Right? I mean, those penalties are shooting.
And targeting computers, yep.
If you can even fit them on the mech.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, are they OP? I don't think so. I mean, granted, I don't think they're worth taking at all, but
they're going to slow the game down because you're going to have to look things up. You're going to have conversations about them. You're going to have to pause like every other turn to say, I forget how this works.
Use this on a weekend game when you have a lot of time to learn and explore, but don't bring this to your local pickup game. You're just going to piss people off.
Role-playing game where the game master can always just do hand wavium and just decide how it works.
Sure.
But I hope they never leave. I hope they never, ever get rid of them completely from BattleTech lore.
I don't think they will. I mean, they've been around. Everyone knows that they're there. They literally just made a new plastic miniature for them. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. And, you know, I mean, whether they'll see a lot more play, I somehow doubt it. But, well, more than they have been because they released new miniature because people could be curious and they want to try these things out. But I don't think we're going to get a whole bunch of new lambs in production anytime soon.
If they allow you to make, because right now when you construct them, they have to be inner sphere tech. You cannot use an XL engine. You cannot use any armor or internal structure that takes up spaces. So no ferrofibrous, no endosteel. You can't use any of that stuff. You can put clan weapons on them, but you can't use any clan base. Like they have to be base inner sphere. There's so many limitations when you construct on mech construction. That also limits them a lot. Like they have to be 50 tons or lighter, and it takes 10% of it for the conversion equipment. They have extra slots taken up by the avionics and landing gear and things like that. If you wanted to fly more than like a ton's worth of fuel, you have to add in extra fuel slots as well. There's so many limitations. I think the only way they would become super popular again is if the Jade Falcons were to let you use clan tech to build them. And then I think you could make some really cool things with it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what's happening. I mean, lore-wise, I don't know if we're in any sort of position to be constructing new abominations, but who knows? Maybe the authors will make something fun happen.
So is there any other questions we want to ask about lambs? Like,
other than the general why?
We already answered that. You just don't like the answer.
That's true.
Even though you think they're cool.
I didn't.
I will say, so I was a little surprised that they released the Aero-Mech Lamb. I know it's because it's an April Fool's, but
I was surprised it sold so well.
I mean, do we have numbers?
All the numbers, they sold all of them. I don't know. No.
Yeah, Denim bought about half.
Yeah.
They don't give me those numbers.
But no, it's just one of those, we know lambs are hard. Here's a lamb. Go for it. Try. Get it wrong. Makes mistakes.
I can post the classic sheets, the record sheets that I make up on the Discord, but I'm hoping that Catalyst releases some official ones that I can compare mine to. I would be very curious to see what they come up with.
That was going to be my question. So, Denim, would you use yours in Alpha Strike? Do you think that would be okay in Alpha Strike?
Well, I mean, Alpha Strike, it's a unit card, so it's got a couple little special rules, but nothing big. I would absolutely use lambs in Alpha Strike. No question.
Yeah. I think my big one only gets like TMM 2, maybe 3. So it's not any worse than anything else already out there.
Well, you're going to get that +1 for being in Land Air mode, right? Mm-hmm. So it would bump it up to 4 wherever you're at, right?
No,
so,
that was with, because it's TMM1.
Okay.
It's TMM1 already.
Because I'm looking at the Stinger Lamb, which is TMM2 already with the 12 jump. So you're going to get up to a TMM3, right? Which is not insignificant with 3 armor, 3 structure.
So you add the jump with it in Land Air?
That's how I read it.
Okay. Nope. I'm just double checking. So I'm doing my Juanita, the one I own. This is the hardest part of the episode. Got my Juanita. It's TMM1.
Ooh, I know who we could ask.
Yeah, I've already asked him. It's TMM1. It's got Jump Strong 1. So if I'm in Land Air Mech mode, I'm at 3, and then 4 for the Land Air Mech mode itself, because I'm using my jump, right?
That sounded like you got an extra one there. I'm not sure.
From the Jump Strong.
Jump Strong.
Okay.
Yeah,
Shoot.
if Josh says it's okay with me.
Look, I don't know.
I've
I'm
not
telling
used
you,
the
if not you,
strength
Josh,
for you.
if Kestrel says it's okay, then I will allow it. But I need it in writing.
I need everything in writing. But no, I don't know. But I would use mine in Alpha Strike before I'd use mine in Classic. But that's also why I got it for an Alpha Strike event. That was like, yeah, experimental's okay. I was like, you sure about that?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
I won't be using this Urban Mech on Tuesdays on this next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after I will probably be using it just to test it out.
Yeah, we'll do a lamb. We'll see.
Yeah, the thing is, Josh, I don't know if you get the Jump Strong bonus because it says you get a +1 for being in Land Air Mech mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but you're no longer jumping.
Yeah,
right? You're not using
that was my thought. That was my thought.
I think it's got to be TMM too. Yep. At least that's how I would. If you were to ask me at a tournament, say, "Hey, does this work this way?" I'd say no, but I might be wrong. But
no, that's how I read it. I'm not.
You're
jumping.
not using jump movement. Yeah, you're not using jump movement.
So,
in which case, why would you ever use Land Air Mech? Because you could just jump and be
because it can still go farther. Because it can still go 36 inches in ground mode.
How often do you need to go all the way across the map?
Oh yes, speed is king.
Says every dasher pilot anywhere. Please.
Dasher speed with medium mech weapons and armor. Yeah.
It's faster than Dasher speed. And it's a lot tougher too if we're looking at
that. That's why. You just answered your own question because lambs are cool.
No, look, you can.
All right. So closing thoughts on the lamb sode. Jenna, one sentence on closing out lambs.
Wow. Just revamp the rules.
Steve.
I love them.
Every day we stray further from God's light.
Josh. I just think they're neat. Anyone want to send us home?
Sure. If you want to get more of that Mechbay podcast goodness, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and send your reasons why Denim is wrong about lambs to the mechbaypodcast@gmail.com. You can also join in the conversation in our Discord. And remember, just because Denim's lore master doesn't mean his brain hasn't been contaminated with SRM propellant. Friends don't let friends run lambs.